He was the man no one suspected, the soft-spoken truck painter who showed up to work on time, made small talk with neighbors, and raised a son. But for nearly 2 decades, Gary Leon Ridgway was also the nightmare behind the mask. A cold, calculating serial killer who prowled the highways and back roads of Seattle, discarding the bodies of his victims like trash. Known to the world as the Green River Killer, Ridgway is believed to have taken the lives of over 70 women, making him one of the most prolific murderers in American history. This story takes you deep into a story that haunted the Pacific Northwest for decades. With exclusive insights from the FBI, heartrending accounts from victims' families, and disturbing details from Ridgway's own confessions. Subscribe now to uncover the hidden truths behind the mask of Gary Ridgway. This is more than true crime, it's a descent into the abyss. A city gripped by fear. It started quietly. In July 1982, the body of Wendy Lee Caulfield, a 16-year-old runaway, was found floating in the murky waters of the Green River. Days later, Deborah Bonner's body was discovered. Then Marcia Chapman, Cynthia Hines, and Opal Mills. Their remains, left in clusters along the riverbanks, bore the signature of a cold and methodical killer. The killer had a hunting ground, the stretch of Pacific Highway South near Seattle-Tacoma Airport, a zone rife with sex work and vulnerable young women. Some of them addicted, some trying to escape broken homes, others just trying to survive. Ridgway saw them as disposable, easy targets. As the bodies mounted, the media gave him a name, the Green River Killer. The public's fear grew by the day. Women stopped walking alone. Families clutched their children tighter. Police formed roadblocks. The killer, meanwhile, watched the panic unfold and kept killing. Inside the mind of a monster. Gary Ridgway was born in Salt Lake City in 1949. His childhood was troubled. His mother was domineering. His father, a bus driver, obsessed over stories of violent crimes. Ridgway showed signs of dysfunction early. He wet the bed until his teens, and in a chilling confession, admitted to fantasizing about his mother while simultaneously wanting to kill her. At the age of 16, Ridgway stabbed a 6-year-old boy, nearly killing him. The boy survived, but no charges were filed. It was the first known sign of the violence simmering within. By the time he reached adulthood, Ridgway was married multiple times and held steady jobs, including painting trucks at a Kenworth plant. He was invisible in plain sight, quiet, unassuming, a man who blended in. But at night, the mask dropped. Ridgway would cruise the streets of Seattle-Tacoma, picking up sex workers in his truck. He often showed them photos of his young son to build trust. Then he would drive to wooded areas or his own home, strangle them with his bare hands or ligatures, and dump their bodies in places he could revisit. He later admitted to necrophilia, often returning to the bodies for days before they decomposed. "Killing prostitutes was my career," Ridgway said during his confessions. "I thought I was doing you guys a favor." The hunt begins. In 1982, the King County Sheriff's Office launched the Green River Task Force. Detective Fay Brooks was one of the first officers assigned. A tough, tireless investigator, Brooks had seen brutal crimes before, but nothing prepared her for the scale of this. "We knew we had a serial killer," Brooks recalls, "but we had no idea just how many victims he would claim." The task force pored over missing persons reports, scoured crime scenes, and interviewed survivors. They tracked Ridgway multiple times over the years. He passed polygraphs. His demeanor never raised suspicion. He was calm, courteous, forgettable. In desperation, the task force brought in Ted Bundy, already on death row. Bundy suggested the killer was a necrophiliac who revisited his dump sites, a profile that eerily matched Ridgway. But without concrete evidence, the case stalled. The killer was still out there, and women were still dying. Families in pain. This documentary also hears from those left behind. Mothers and fathers who clung to missing person flyers. Sisters who never stopped searching. Children who grew up without answers. She was only 15, says Maria Allen, whose daughter Denise was found near Star Lake. She ran away from home. I never got to say goodbye. I didn't even know she'd been picked up until her bones were found. The pain was unbearable. Some families held on to hope for years, only to receive a knock on the door from detectives. Others learned the truth in courtrooms, decades after their loved ones vanished. Each victim had a name, a face, a dream. This documentary honors them. DNA and the downfall. In 2001, technological advancements in DNA testing offered new hope. Forensic scientists re-examined semen samples from the early crime scenes. Profile was built. It matched Gary Ridgway. Police arrested Ridgway on November 30, 2001, as he left work. When confronted, he barely reacted. He was charged with 4 murders initially, but as investigators dug deeper, the scope of his crimes expanded exponentially. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Ridgway made a deal. In exchange for avoiding the death penalty, he confessed to 71 murders and helped locate dozens of bodies. Each confession was delivered with disturbing calm. "I picked them up, had sex with them, and killed them," he said, emotionless. Or that was it. He described killing 2 women in one day, forgetting their names and revisiting their remains. His indifference shocked even veteran detectives. Courtroom revelations. In 2003, Ridgway stood in court and listened as the names of 49 confirmed victims were read aloud. Families gathered, clutching photos and memories. Some cried. Others spoke directly to him. "You stole my sister's life, but you didn't destroy her spirit," said the brother of victim Mary Meehan. Then came a moment that stunned everyone. Robert Rule, the father of teenage victim Linda Jane Rule, stood up and said, "Honest, Mr. Ridgway, there are people here who hate you. I'm not one of them. I forgive you." The courtroom fell silent. Even Ridgway wept. His tears, however, offered little comfort. The damage had been done. The aftermath. Gary Ridgway was sentenced to 48 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He remains at Washington State Penitentiary. The Green River case transformed how law enforcement tracks missing persons and sex crimes. It exposed the systemic neglect of vulnerable women and highlighted the urgency of reform. Detective Fay Brooks retired after more than 2 decades of service. But not all wounds heal. Today, there are still unidentified victims, still families without closure, still echoes of terror in the trees along the Green River. Subscribe now for more haunting and exclusive true crime stories. Dive deep with us into the minds of killers, the heroes who pursue them, and the victims we will never forget.